Hi, everyone. So I often hear the word spiritual mentioned. Like people tell me they're on a spiritual path or they try to be spiritual. But when you really question around what you mean by being spiritual, we start to run into trouble. What does it actually mean to be spiritual or on the spiritual journey? When I was in my hippie days and I met my guru, 1972, 73, I remember the first question that I asked him, and that was that I'd been to a nightclub the night before. And with my eyes open, there was one reality, and with my eyes closed, there was another reality. Which one was real? Or which one was more real? I'm not going to talk about his answer at the moment, but it brings up for me again this whole question of spiritual. With my eyes open, see the world out there. With my eyes closed, seeing another kind of reality inside me. And for me, that's where the spiritual journey kind of starts, as it were, is the recognition between those two realities. So one nice way to think about it is the image of the cross. There's a horizontal arm and a vertical arm. And if you think about the horizontal arm, what I call flat earth perspective, well, the flat earth perspective is the reality that we live, as it were, with our eyes open. And we use our thinking mind and our sensory perception, our seeing, our hearing, our tasting, our touching. All those sensory apparatus are tools that we use to be in the world, out there, to see the world, as it were, to touch the world, to feel, to taste the world. So we use our sensory apparatus, our five senses, together with our thinking mind. That is what creates the horizontal world, and the world of the matter-of-fact world, the world that we live in, as it were, where time exists, past, present, and future, all on the horizontal level. But it's a vertical level that takes us deeper. And that's the spiritual journey, is the vertical level. And how do we access the vertical? Well, when we, as it were, close off our senses, close our eyes, and start to go deeper, then we use other tools. Not the sensory apparatus, because that connects us to the world out there, to what I call the horizontal reality. To access the vertical reality, we have two tools, as it were. The one tool is feeling, and the other tool is knowing. So knowing is a different faculty. You don't need to think all the time. You can know things. You don't always have to think. And in fact, as I often mention with driving, you don't use your thinking mind. You use your, let's call it your knowing mind. So knowing is one way that we can access the internal space. And when knowing connects to thinking, we call it intuition. I mentioned that before. So knowing is a way that we access the inner space. And feeling is how we access the inner space as well. Feeling is not emotions, and I've brought this up many times. Feeling and emotions are different aspects of who we are. So feeling is when I say I feel I need to phone my friend or whatever it is, that's a feeling. When you walk in nature and you say, nature, it feels so nice to walk in nature, that's a feeling. But that takes us deeper. Takes us deeper than the thinking mind and the five senses. Now we're using our inner senses, our feeling and knowing senses, in order to go deeper. And that takes us into what people call the spiritual dimension, is knowing and feeling. So in a kind of way, it's the same with meditation. When you do meditation, you try not to pay attention to the thinking, you allow thinking to go past. And when you stop paying attention to thinking mind, you can access your feeling and knowing self, and you sit quietly there. And it's not as if you're dead. People think without their thinking emotional self, they'd be dead. Not at all. When thinking and emotions are quiet, when the horizontal is quiet, then you can access the vertical, the knowing and the feeling. So without thinking and emotions, you're not dead. Now you're into your deeper faculties of feeling and knowing. And now you have to be careful, because thinking mind will keep coming up and say, I know how to use the knowing. I know how to use the feeling. No, it can't do any of that. Once you bring thinking in, you're back into thinking. And that's the power of the thinking mind, and why we struggle with meditation, for example, because thinking keeps wanting to come back, keeps wanting to define your reality, to allow you to access reality according to thinking. But knowing is different. Knowing is not thinking. It's just a deep knowing. And women are very good at knowing and feeling because they need to be in touch with their children, what's happening with their children. And thinking can't help them. Thinking can only create problems, because thinking can start to talk about all kinds of things that could be happening to your children. But a woman that's in touch with her feeling and knowing will know when there's something really serious going on from her thinking, and not from her thinking, from her knowing and feeling self. So knowing and feeling allows us to go much deeper, and that's the vertical. When we function in the world, it's not a question of using the horizontal or the vertical. We can make the now moment sacred. We can make the now moment spiritual by just bringing in knowing and feeling into our whole approach to the world out there. So if we only stay on the horizontal, then we can become critical, and we have no heart, because now everything is logical and follows protocols, and we move away from when we move away from the vertical, which is where the heart is, the feeling part, the deep knowing part. When we bring the knowing and the feeling into the horizontal, then the horizontal has depth. And the spiritual journey is really not about abandoning the horizontal. No, we need the horizontal to function in the world. We need thinking to function in the world. But nevertheless, it must be enriched by the presence of the knowing and the feeling self. I will be talking a lot more about feeling and knowing, because there's depth there. And when I say there's depth, we need to be careful that we don't get stuck in the word feeling. The word feeling is just a word. But what that word is pointing to is something very, very deep. Something that is, for me, brings up awe and wonder. That's where awe and wonder sits for me, is the moment I bring the vertical into the horizontal, then suddenly the horizontal is, can I say, spiritualized, is made sacred just by doing that. Have a good day.